OutKick 360, just like that. We are back alongside Chad Winthrop and Paul Koharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton.
Energy.
Glad you're with us live from Studio G in Nashville, Tennessee, from the palatial Blackbird Studios. It is time to have some fun. Welcome to OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. Guys, we are pumped. We are thrilled. March 15th is here. The debut is here.
Can I start by just giving you guys a fist pump?
Absolutely.
Because it has been too long, boys. 2 months in the grand scheme of things, not a long time on Earth. But 2 months for us to not be together hosting a show felt like an eternity.
Longer than Lent.
True.
Paul, you've been on a cleanse in the last 2 months.
Look, I didn't get a hell of a lot accomplished in terms of my errand list and cleaning up and all of that stuff, but I did eat well, which I'm continuing, and the Peloton bike that our good friend Kirby told me was going to be a very expensive coat rack that I got for my 50th birthday with contributions from my family that I did not ride regularly, now has over 50 rides on it. And,
how old are you now?
And some
that you
52.
52.
So it was a delayed. It was a
Nice.
delayed response, but I know all the instructors. Sometimes I do some arms and intervals on there, and I'm kind of addicted to it.
What are those instructors' names?
My top two are Leanne and Hannah.
Okay.
Though
Shout out Leanne and Hannah.
there is a guy I like a lot who does some too.
Important info to start our first
Yes,
show. A
yeah.
guy that Paul likes a lot.
Yeah, let's
on
start a Peloton group.
That's what we're doing. It's a big bait and switch, guys. We're actually going to talk Peloton this entire time.
We're going to
That's the
ride
entire
bikes
show.
while we do the show.
Tomorrow it's going to be a big workout routine. The guy that Paul likes is going to instruct us. It's going to be terrific.
We are jumping right into it. We're going to get into the NCAA Tournament today.
We got brackets.
NFL free agency is going to be well underway as the negotiating period has started across the National Football
Started
League.
the same time we started. They coordinated very nicely with us.
Yeah, that's right.
Your team, as of right now, has a harder time re-signing its own people because agents are officially allowed to call from other. GMs from other teams
Right.
are officially allowed to call your agent.
We'll get into all of that and more. And then coming up in hour number 2, we will have the Tennessee Power Hour on OutKick 360, talking all things local, Tennessee Vols, Titans, and much more. But guys, let's start with OutKick 360 and the vision that Clay Travis and Sam Savage have for OutKick.com and where we are headed as a show. We are thrilled to be on multiple platforms. You're watching now at YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook Live. We're going to be distributed on podcasts immediately following the show where you can find us on Spotify and much more. Subscribe there, subscribe everywhere, OutKick.com. And eventually, we will have a radio platform as well.
In fact, coming up in about 45 minutes, we're going to tell you about our first radio partner that's here in the state of Tennessee. So we're excited about that. This is awesome because the number one question we get, where can we hear you guys? Where can we see you guys? We can answer that, and we can say pretty much everywhere. Anywhere your phone goes, everything you have on your phone, you can find us. YouTube page, Instagram after the fact, Facebook, Twitter. You can access our show wherever you get podcasts, up on Spotify right now, iTunes coming soon. And the really cool thing about the vision.
Stitcher.
Yeah, Stitcher also. I'm not on Stitcher, but Paul is. He's very hip, very young. For those that don't know, Paul thinks the youngest of the show.
52.
No, he does not. But no, it's cool to see the vision of OutKick and Clay Travis and Sam Savage and the ideas they had for us in this show. And guys, I think I speak for all of us when I say we wanted to stay together as a trio.
Absolutely.
It was very important for us that whatever happened, moving forward with the next contract we signed, wherever that was going to be, it was really important that we stay together as a show because we've been at this now for almost a decade. And at the conclusion of this first year with OutKick of what we hope are very many years to come, that will be 10 years together as a trio. That, I joked about 2 weeks, feeling like an eternity to not do a show.
2 months.
One group of 3 guys doing a show for 10 years in this business is an eternity. It's very rare that you have that sort of continuity. It was important for us to stay together, and this was a place where we could come and stay together, but not only that, where we could grow.
Yes. And look, we're not a glacier now. We are a rocket ship. So, we have ideas that don't have to get shoved aside or that aren't things that we can't accomplish? The answer is yes. So we come up with an idea, we can try it out. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then we say, all right, well, that didn't work. If it does work, then we've got rocket fuel to go run with it. The rest of OutKick, which is growing, can pick up with it and run with it. As more people come on board with OutKick and they have good ideas, we can attach to those good ideas. That's another reason. This is a nimble organization that can do a lot of things very quickly. In a matter of, this show could have been on air very quickly, but for the 2 months that we had a non-compete. So we're excited about the ability to generate and execute ideas very quickly.
And how about within 2 months, Neon Media getting the studio built and up and running? Charlie Courts, Mike King, shout out Lance Lee, Jacob Swanson for making the show happen for us. There are many more working behind the scenes as well that we will introduce you to in the coming days and weeks. And a huge thank you to Blackbird Studio with John and Martina McBride, Alan Ditto, and the entire crew here. We are in Studio G of the Palace that is Blackbird Studio here in Nashville.
G for greatness.
One of 9 studios, state-of-the-art facility with Blackbird Academy. If you're into audio, you want to go to school for audio production, whether that be live on site for concerts or what have you, or in studio engineering, theblackbirdacademy.com is the website to learn more. How about these digs? We walked in last week for the first time and saw what they did here. This is perfect.
Well, and this kind of goes back to, Paul, what you were saying about we're a rocket ship now, and we can always add things to it. This studio is incredible, and it's just for us, which is awesome. But what you see behind us here, we're going to add to that. If you have ideas about things that you want to see behind us as you watch the show, if you have things you want to give us to put back here,
we love
that
gifts.
Could be cool. That goes in line with the ethos of the show.
Has to make a very high bar, clear a very high bar.
Yeah, we're not just going to take anything. If you want your son's 7th grade runner-up trophy, we're not going to put that behind here, but other things we might. So it's really cool just to see.
And all of this stuff has great meaning.
It does.
We'll talk about it in time.
But this studio, in and of itself, has great meaning.
It's terrific.
And
I think
John
we probably
McBride
look terrific right
and
now.
Blackbird Studios has great meaning to us. Yeah, well, hopefully.
Even Chad and I. Hutton always looks terrific.
Please tell Paul how good he looks.
Faces for radio. We've got those jokes going. I don't know how my shine is. We're going to have to ask the production team. I have some makeup in a drawer behind us. That could be applied
during the live break. We'll powder Paul's head.
Paul is more concerned than any 52-year-old on the planet about his looks and about what people think about his looks.
I'm just going to look good.
I tell Paul he looks great all the time. He doesn't listen to me.
I love it.
So please tell Paul how good he looks. I'm being serious all day.
I'm fine.
Positive reinforcement.
Look, when we said we were doing this and I knew we were going to have 2 months off, I said everybody's going to say, look at the bald guy. But I think I could get myself in position where people don't say, look at the fat bald guy.
So over the last 2 months, we've had a chance to introduce ourselves to the OutKick VIPs. If you're joining us, thank you for being with us on day number 1. And a huge shout out to our season ticket holders from our former program in the middays.
Thank you for your patience.
Yes, thank you for being with us as well. Hit us up on Twitter at OutKick360. Today and this week, that is how we're going to do the primary interaction with you through Twitter. Our tweets rolling in, Chad.
Tweets are rolling in at a fast rate.
Good.
I'm trying to keep up right now, but that's what's great about this setup in here with this studio that was built. Laptop in front of me. I'm monitoring Twitter throughout. We will take questions. We'll take comments. We'll interact with you via Twitter throughout every show that we do. So please hit us up there. And I echo what you said, Hutton. Thanks to everyone who's jumping on board now. Thanks to the OutKick, the broader OutKick community who's embraced us throughout. And also a big thanks for the patience of everyone about what this show is. And you know this, guys. A big question we get is, are you national now? Is it going to be a national show? What is your show?
Let's talk about the Bucks Raptors last night immediately.
Yeah, let's get right into it. Peloton and Bucks Raptors.
Yeah,
that's what the show is now.
I love the NBA now. It's unbelievable.
It's our show, though, right? I mean, it's
yes.
It's our show. That's the best way to describe it.
Yes. We're going to talk about the teams that are here where we're based in Nashville, particularly during an hour a day. If those spill into broader topics, this is what we've always done. We'll talk about those broader topics. If broad topics nationally turn into narrower topics, we'll talk about those. Trust us. We've done it for 9 years. We know how to convert these topics into things that sound like three good friends talking at a bar. And we've got liquor here, so it may wind up being three good friends talking at a bar. I don't think these guys will bartend. It'll be a self-service bar. But you get my point.
We'll serve drinks for them. They're actually getting drunk right now. So then we'll just bring the drinks to them. That'll be part of the show.
So you get my point. And there are numerous days where we come in, and the story of the day today is the NCAA tournament. Now, will we talk about UT's place in the NCAA tournament? Absolutely, we will. So it's a combination of everything. The story of the day is sometimes local. The story of the day is plenty of times not local. The thing that we end up getting on a tangent about on a day could be, a Q-tip incident. Inside joke
Let's
already.
Save that for show number 2, please.
Inside joke that you might find out about on OutKick MVP, a different story. But we talk about our lives. We talk about subjects.
By the way, it's OutKick VIP.
VIP, what did I say? MVP?
Paul butchering the description of something. This is also a show staple. So once again,
and
another
we could wind
example of
up
how
spending
this is
20
our
minutes.
show.
We could wind up spending 20 minutes on that. But you've generally trusted us, if you've known us before, to take the conversation to the right place. If you're new to us, that's what we will do. Give us a shot, and we're pretty sure that you're going to like where we end up going.
We are here to provide the escape for you during your workday, live each day starting at 11 a.m. Central, noon Eastern is where you can find us right here, wherever you're watching live to OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. Guys, for the first time, for me at least, Paul, you've switched jobs in the past. Sometimes
times.
Reluctantly, sometimes,
Forced.
Ready to go.
Yep.
Mandatory.
I got fired from a sneaker store once.
What was it like over the last 2 months not being able to react to the sports headlines? Because we have not been on since the Tennessee coaching search in football. We have not been on since Tom Brady won a Super Bowl.
It was excruciating because the routine was such that we always knew when stories like this broke, it's great to get in a studio and talk about it with you guys, but talk about it with our audience also. I wanted to know just as much about what our audience thought about big news stories that did us.
Me too.
So the inability to interact, we could do it on social media, but the inability to come in and host a show, which is what we do and what we get paid to do, to not be able to do that, I was lost in the wilderness because all these huge stories were hitting. I mean, you got to think, after we signed off for the last time in our previous show, a coach was fired at Tennessee, an AD left, an AD was hired, a coaching search happened, a new coach came in, a staff was added, there were staff additions and subtractions with the Titans.
Isaiah Wilson's out of town for the Titans.
Hutton's man crush, Tom Brady, as he mentioned, winning a Super Bowl. A lot happened.
Yeah.
That we're going to talk about
hard.
throughout.
Yeah, we'll do some catching up segments for sure. It's difficult. You also have your life routine, your work routine. I still had the outlet of writing about the Titans at my site and doing an occasional broadcast there. And to be frank, I don't know if you guys felt the same. It had been a long time since we had a vacation. We had some furlough time in our previous job.
Forced vacation.
Yeah, forced vacation. But through football season, we don't take time off. And so I was ready for some vacation, but 2 weeks of vacation is about right, especially when you're not at the beach. It's a staycation. And after that, the itch is there, and it was weird and unfamiliar. And so that's a big part of why we're thrilled to be back here and juiced up to be not only on the air but in front of a camera.
Coming up, it's time to talk about the NCAA tournament. What a championship Sunday it was yesterday for the SEC and the Big Ten specifically. Fantastic games that lead to all of the pairings for this upcoming week. By the way, the tournament starts on Friday. We've got a watch party coming up for that.
Going to be huge.
At 6th and Peabody for OutKick VIPs and listeners and viewers to the show. We'll give you details on that.
We've not talked a ton about what we think about the bracket. We do this oftentimes, so our first conversation about it is on the air. I've got one big trend that I like. I'm sure Chad has a bunch of things.
Chad's got his bracket.
And Jonathan, we haven't even seen with the bracket out. So lots to come.
Can I give the first tease in show history? Will you
Please
guys
do.
allow me the honor of
Yes.
doing that?
Absolutely. No double teasing.
When we come back, I want to discuss paper and why it's important. And it's not because of The Office. We all love the show. It's for a different reason.
Talking tourney next on OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. Stay with us. FanDuel.com/OutKick360. Actually, make that OK360. FanDuel.com/OK360. That is where you will find the risk-free $50 bet across the state of Tennessee. If you haven't joined FanDuel yet and FanDuel Sportsbook, now's a great time to do it with the NCAA Tournament coming up. Of course, the game's on Thursday with the play-in matchups. Tournament starts on Friday. Go to FanDuel.com/OK360 to place your first bet. It's risk-free, and it's a promotion that runs from all week through Thursday on March 18th. So that's right before the play-in game. So jump in, get the $50 risk-free bet.
Yeah, so right now you get that $50 risk-free bet. Do a parlay, do something complicated.
Yeah.
You're not risking anything.
Right, you can win
yourself some big odds and go. I talked
Another
about the nimble thing about us working here. The FanDuel app is remarkably nimble.
Simple.
I spend an hour sometimes. I might not even make a bet, just looking through possibilities, scrolling through all the options on one game or looking for combination things. It's fantastic.
We'll get the link out there also across all social media.
And again, it's a risk-free bet. The offer ends on Thursday evening. So again, log on FanDuel.com/OK360, and that sets up the watch party, which will be live from 6th and Peabody. We'll be broadcasting live this coming Friday, live downtown Nashville for what is going to be a great day.
Tearing ourselves away from our beautiful set.
Hoops return.
We've already got 100 OutKick VIPs signed up.
I call them
ready to
MVPs.
Paul calls it MVPs. We've heard a lot of people say, no, I call it this way. No, it's VIPs, whatever Paul says. Yes, true. Some would say that. So 100 OutKick VIPs will be there. Had to cap it at that because there's going to be some special incentives. By the way, if you're not an OutKick VIP, we highly recommend it. It's very affordable. It's cheap. And I would even go as far as to say you would get the value back in this one event if you were an OutKick VIP in what you're going to get for free at this watch party. But for everyone else out there, capacity is 392 people at 6th and Peabody, a great venue downtown Nashville. Let's pack it out.
It's one of those places with the garage door kind of vibe, open
It's
airish.
enormous.
It'll be fresh air, and we'll do our show, then we'll mingle, talk about our parlay. Everybody will talk about their bets. We'll follow what's going on. The UT game for local people of interest is right
3:30.
At 3:30. So
we're
a lot
doing
of good
a special
games on the
show
slate.
9 to 11 a.m. on Friday. Clay Travis is going to be there with a special VIP event going on right after that. We're going to be there all day and night. Come hang out with us. My goal is to pack it out, whatever the capacity is, even with limited capacity. It's over 300 people there. It's a huge venue. If you've never been, come join us Friday. We'll be there starting at 9 a.m. You're going to want to get there early, get a spot. Make sure you're there to watch all the NCAA tournament games with us.
We're going to set some over-unders. I think because I've had one drink in 6 weeks, I'll be drunk on a drink and a half. And Chad, I think we're setting it at 11 and a half.
Right, yes.
So we're going to try to get FanDuel to pick those up. We don't know. We're new with our big connection with them. I don't know if we could get them to pick up on those numbers or not.
Paul went in one health direction during this hiatus. I went in a different health direction. So that'll be on the
And Hutton always is only eating seeds and
Can you imagine if
seeds,
we had a
grains, and
special prop that day through FanDuel where only in the venue it would pick up where you could place your bets on how many drinks it would take.
And then we would take like the DUI tests every half drink
on the way in
to see
and out.
how drunk we were. Breathalyzer, yeah, that would be an easy way to get. And we have a FanDuel representative there to judge when we hit the over.
It's like the old offshore accounts that you could do. I could get some offshore action on how many it'll take Paul. And right now we're setting it at 2.5 drinks, but we'll find out on Friday.
So the tournament bracket is out. You guys have been filling out your bracket this morning, as millions of Americans have been doing. Let's just start with yesterday and how great it was to sit with the anticipation of Selection Sunday and the brackets being announced. Because a year ago, we didn't have this. A year ago, we were being sent home, like most of everyone viewing right now, to work from home. And now, a year later, here we sit hosting OutKick 360 and being able to discuss the NCAA tournament.
It's awesome. And I felt that excitement all day. What a great SEC championship
Oh, it was
game.
awesome. It was great.
What a great Big Ten championship with Illinois and Ohio State. Two terrific games. I love those big conference tournaments when you get down to the Final Four and every team is already in the NCAA tournament. So there's not that finality pressure where if you lose, you're going home in those tournaments. But teams let it rip. You can tell that when the teams
say, hey, we're in it.
and
Let's
want to
win
win.
it.
Yeah, and you saw that on Sunday with those championship games. Really cool when you get to see that. It's a little bit different when you're an Ole Miss, for instance, and you've got to win a couple games to have a shot at the tournament. Different level of pressure. It was awesome watching those games and just to have a tournament to talk about and to have a Selection Sunday to look forward to. Selection Sunday started a little bit late because the Big Ten game went into overtime. And guys, paper matters again. Everything we're doing, we're coming to you live right now, digitally, on your phone, on your television, on your tablet, everywhere.
2 computers and a tablet.
Paper means less every day, right? Newspapers are dying. Paper everywhere is dying. But the bracket and how holy these brackets are, and having the bracket in your hand is one of my favorite things about March, to actually have a physical bracket on you, even if you don't have to, but to have the bracket there. I don't know if you guys are that way, but I love having an actual bracket in my hand.
I print it immediately.
Hey, one other point about conference championships, and I meant to go deeper on this, but I'm pretty sure there was a trend there, and you were talking about some of them being close. There were a lot of championships in the lesser conferences that were not close.
How dare you call the Patriot League a lesser conference?
America.
John Feinstein would have you off the show for saying that. I know what you mean.
I just started going alphabetically. America East. Hartford beat UMass Lowell by 14. American Athletic. Houston beat, Houston's big time, but they beat Cincinnati by 37. There were a lot of scores in these games that you like to see tight and buzzer beaters, and your friend texts you, hey, you got to flip over to see the end of this, that were huge margins. I felt like every time I kept seeing a score, I was like, these games are typically tight, especially in one-bid leagues or very tight leagues, and they were not tight.
Well, even if Nashville,
the low percentage of them were tight.
Belmont got blown out in the championship game by Morehead State. It's almost every year. That OVC championship is terrific and right down to the wire. Yeah, you had a lot of that.
So here's my first. I'll go first. My one thing I'm leaning on my bracket, very heavy Big Ten. Teams that were not
Big
great.
10 and Big 12.
Teams that were not great, like Wisconsin. Teams that were not great, like Michigan State, that's in a playoff game. I think out of the pressure cooker of the very good Big Ten against teams that might have been good somewhere else, who also would have died with a Big Ten schedule, probably are going to do well in this tournament. That's one of my things going in.
A couple things that always happens during tournament time, and I love all of these things, by the way. Something we've discussed before. Your biases start to show.
God.
So if it's Michigan State, if it's Villanova, now for Villanova, that's a good one to have because they typically do very well in the
Except
tournament.
they lost a key guy.
But I was always a Jay Wright guy, even before he won multiple national titles. But you have these teams you always pick to go too far. And you have teams that maybe you always pick to underperform that surprise.
And the year you back off of either one of those, then it
The other thing that happens
happens.
Also is this is the time of the year where everybody that you have is going to tell you how much they know about Winthrop, right? So people are going to act like they watch the Big South Conference all year and they know about Winthrop. I see it everywhere. I love Winthrop. Can I address this camera right here, right now? So you're going to hear from everyone about Winthrop and how great Winthrop is, how great of a season they had, and how they are going to beat Villanova. The people telling you this have no clue one way or the other. They have not seen a second of Winthrop. Has not happened this year. That being said, I'm picking Winthrop in my 12/5 to beat Villanova. Winthrop is going to get it done this year.
Well, Villanova lost a key guy, a heart and soul
Point guard
guy,
yep.
right? So that would be a key thing
Right.
in a Winthrop upset. I'm a guy that picks Villanova to go far every year. I'm an old Big East guy.
But see, I actually love that, though. I love that everyone can pretend they know a lot about these smaller teams and go all in on these teams, right? When you're watching those games and you pick that upset, you go all in on those teams. You are irrationally excited or upset about those teams, and you can act like you know a lot about them even if you didn't watch
and what's
a
the
second
spread?
of them all
It's
year.
probably 14.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that'll be
go look
closer.
at
but
it.
yeah,
Check
it's 5
FanDuel.
times bigger. Yeah.
So my big takeaway is just my reaction to the bracket. There are so many great first-round matchups throughout this, and potential second-round matchups. For instance, and we'll get into this in the second hour, Oklahoma State against Tennessee in round 2 could be phenomenal.
Right.
Could be a great matchup. Now, they've got to get past Oregon State, of course. But
a lot of orange in that bracket.
yeah, but
in that
A lot
region.
of orange.
But so initially, if you would have asked me last week my thoughts on the tournament, I would have told you this is the year where we see the top 2 seeds in each bracket advance. Because of the way the season's been, there are some teams that have only played 18 games. There are others that have played 25, 26 games. And you feel like that can catch up with some teams through conference play or the lack thereof. And as I see the bracket announced, I'm more inclined to pick upsets on my bracket than what I thought I would be this year, because I would have gone chalk, for the most part, in my initial impression of the way the college basketball season had shaped up. And now I'm looking at Alabama-Iona, and I'm buying into the Patino against Nate Oates. I love Alabama.
Greatest Patino, by
but
the way. Just unbelievable.
That game is
so
the most
sickly.
talked about game right now nationally because of the head coaching matchup and because of Iona winning in year 1 with Patino.
Everybody on ESPN picked chalk. I mean, picking a 3 into the final 8 was a big deal, or a 4.
I don't blame them this
ton
year,
of chalk,
though.
but a lot of
I
them were
don't
doing
either.
what
I
Jay
did the
Billis
same thing.
did. Jay Billis said, first and second round, I see a ton of craziness, but then I see chalk at the end. So he sees a ton of craziness, but he doesn't see 1s and 2s losing. And I think that's what most of us
Also, what do you want to
probably-
see when you get to the second weekend?
Yeah, you
We
wanna
love
see-
upsets.
That's
We
how
always
America roots, too.
But I'd like to see one team come, and I'd like to see those guys pick one team, and generally one team does come, right?
Yeah,
Typically, we
Something,
want to see the
Butler
update.
sneaks in, or somebody.
We want to see
sneaks
the
in. George Mason.
Cinderellas. We want to see the Cinderellas for the first 2 games.
But not in the Sweet 16.
And then we see television ratings after
Right.
that.
Yeah, you're not excited about them when they're going into the Sweet 16 or into the Elite 8, but you're excited as hell when they win in the first 2 rounds.
Right.
And I'd trade that. I'd rather see the wins in the
Yeah,
first
me
2
too.
rounds and then not be that fired up about them being in the Sweet 16.
Yeah.
I'd take that trade off every time. Nova only 6.5 point.
Yeah, I knew that would be closer.
6.5 point.
Yeah,
favorite.
Abilene Christian's exciting if they beat Texas in round 1. Abilene Christian's not exciting
Going in the game,
in the
too.
Sweet 16 if they get past
Right.
the second round.
But
What
you
else
want the
stands out to you, Chad?
So, one thing that I think is this is where the Big Ten, you mentioned the Big Ten, Paul. Do they have an advantage because they stayed in Indianapolis? They had the tournament there, and if you were out last week at some point, no one went back to their campus. They stayed there to get ready for the bubble. The entire tournament happening in Indianapolis.
Yeah, Big
I am
Ten's got
curious if there's an
advantage there.
overall style of play upgrade or lack of fatigue, because it's very different. Even in Nashville, here in Nashville, SEC tournament, Tennessee is an example. They went over and had shoot-arounds at Memorial Gym when they were out on Saturday. They've stayed here the whole time. They flew out this morning to go to Indianapolis. Never went back to Knoxville. They're going to be there all week, getting ready for a Friday game, having shoot-arounds, staying in the same hotel. And that advantage that the Big Ten teams have, that they never had to leave Indy.
Meanwhile,
and they're going to stay
UVA
right there in their bubble the whole time.
Meanwhile, it's not quite a bubble. What's the term they're using? It's like it's looser than a bubble for
Yeah.
whatever that's
It's
worth.
a citywide bubble.
Yeah, but UVA
For the most part.
UVA is not getting there until late, like Thursday after their COVID thing. So
Yeah.
here's a question, and we know the first 4 out are alternates and could be replacements. Does this tournament lose a team to COVID on its way to Indianapolis or as it gets to Indianapolis? And how wild would it be to see Louisville just plugged into whatever slot empties out? It
Right.
could be a 1, it could be a 15.
Well, I think
and that
it-
would be a wild story.
It would be. So the
we saw it
deadline
happen
for a
to what,
team
3
like
teams?
Ole Miss. Ole Miss is on standby. The deadline is Tuesday for Ole Miss to enter the tournament.
Yep.
And once they get past Tuesday, there is no team that will replace another team in the tournament once they start
Then
play.
it's a forfeit.
Then it's a no contest, is the way they're going to phrase it.
But you only need
2-0
5
win.
healthy players.
But you need
play.
7 on the roster.
Yeah.
You need 7 on the roster
But what's
to play.
contact tracing do?
Well,
Like if one of your guys has it, are other guys out because they've been around that guy? I don't know the permutations
So
of all
Tony
of that.
Bennett said most of his team has been contact traced. Would not give a specific number, but
Well,
he said
they're in
as
the
of right
clear.
now, most of the team has been contact traced, and they're going to have to wait to see.
So
So
all of those teams are in the clear as of now to go. UVA,
yeah,
Kansas.
but if you're filling out your bracket right now, I don't know what the hell to do with Virginia against Ohio, because
Right.
I don't know who's out. You know,
They'll
they
win.
haven't released who's
They'll
got
win.
it, who's going to be contact traced, who's going to be out. But point being, with that, instability. You don't really know exactly who's going to be on
another
these teams.
curveball in the middle of the
Right.
tournament, which makes it, it's not something you want, but it makes it even more intriguing.
You brought up the replacement. If Louisville comes in as a 16 seed and you get the second ever 16 over a 1 because it's Louisville.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
I mean, that's going to be a big controversy, though, right? Like, you earn a number 1 seed, and you got to take care of business.
It's not the
first
same
and foremost,
as
but
Baltimore.
If
Maryland.
I'm Gonzaga, Baylor, Illinois, or Michigan, and my team has a COVID issue and I have to play Louisville in the first round, there's nothing fair about that.
Oh,
When
no.
you play an entire season to earn a number 1 seed, you're expecting Hartford. You're not expecting Louisville. So that's going to be an issue if something like that happens. And on the flip side, we mentioned it, what if a number 1 seed is out and Louisville gets a slide into a spot where they've got a really good opportunity to get to the second weekend or beyond as a 1 seed?
It would have to happen. It's going to have to happen fairly soon, though,
Yeah.
for them to get in, period. Otherwise, it's just then we're looking at a no contest.
Yeah, and that sucks
and a
too.
team
You got a
advances.
blank TV slot in a what we're counting on being
Yeah.
all those games overlapping and the window where you've got 2 or 3 games at a time, and all of a sudden
I think they've set up a good plan.
there's a blank
I
slate.
mean,
I think
it's the best they can do.
It's the
Look,
best they could do.
there is no-
and compared to last year,
There is no good
Bring it
plan,
on.
right? Like, it's a selection of
Best you
bad
could do.
plans, and that's the whole COVID-19 thing. We're talking about
a wrench.
a choice of bad plans. I think it's probably the best of what they could do.
Yeah.
I've got no big issue with it. Here's what I think about this year's tournament. America will be Gonzaga fans.
yeah, I think
They
so
are
too.
the odds-on favorite. They are undefeated. They have a chance to become the first undefeated national champion since 1976 in Bobby Knight and Indiana's team that year. Everyone roots for Mark Few. No one has bad feelings about Gonzaga. It's like they have a bunch of bitter rivals out there that don't like Gonzaga.
Even their conference roots for them, right?
I'm pulling for Gonzaga to win it all. I think a lot of America, for betting interest, because they're going to be such a favorite, and just for the good feelings you'll get if Mark Few wins that national title at Gonzaga. I think this is Gonzaga's year. This is Gonzaga's bracket, and that's the storyline. Is can Gonzaga go in there and do what maybe people thought they should have done before at this point, but win a national
I think you're
title?
right. It's the do factor.
Right.
Villanova had a little of that. They were
Yeah.
beyond due when their time came. Butler had that. Butler kind of came out of nowhere. The thing about the Zags is that they've grown this program from nothing. That's another reason you root for them, right? They grew the program from nothing, and now they are a major college basketball program. Which Chad, 12 years ago even? Nobody had heard of them. And now,
longer than that.
Longer than that?
Yeah.
20 years ago?
Yeah.
20 years
They
ago.
were coming onto the scene about 15 years
Like
ago.
the late
Right. So
90s is
15
probably
or
about
20
when they
years ago.
announced themselves.
Though, but like this is
Dan
something
Dickow.
that does not
Yeah, late 90s,
happen
you're right.
in other sports. In college football, there's no such thing as growing a program out of nothing. And so I think America really likes that too, that you can grow a college basketball program from nothing and become a regular candidate to go to the Final Four the way they are.
Look at their bracket, though. And again, this is going back to my initial impression. So in the second round, they're getting Oklahoma or Missouri. And as you continue to go down the bracket on their potential matchups, you see a lot of solid defensive teams. We know what Virginia's capable of defensively. Kansas, Iowa as the 2 seed.
Iowa's really good.
How do these defenses match up against what Gonzaga has done offensively all year?
Yeah, that's no clear path, obviously. I don't know that
These
any of them
8-9
are
games.
real
I know.
clear paths.
I mean, these 8-9 games, for these number 1 seeds, talk about getting the benefit of the doubt being the number 1 seed. Oklahoma, Missouri, LSU, who's LSU got? St. Bonaventure, very good. I mean, LSU is an 8 seed. Name 4 better, more talented players on any roster than what LSU can
That's
bring to the
Michigan's
table.
draw in round 2.
Michigan's draws that in the 8-9 game. You got Loyola, Chicago, and Georgia Tech as another 8-9. And then North Carolina, Wisconsin.
I mean, I know
Will await
Oklahoma.
Baylor in the second
right.
round.
I know Oklahoma's
Crazy.
played poorly lately, but they beat West Virginia twice, Kansas, Texas, Alabama, back to back to back. I mean,
Tough to
a
find better
team that could
wins
do
for a team.
that, you get them in a tournament. I mean, if they're playing well, give me a resume that's better than that. I mean,
It's why we love the tournament, too, because these teams that are at these major conference at-large teams, you can go down the list and see the wins for these teams and say, boy, this team could beat anyone. We're going to talk about Tennessee more later. Tennessee should have beat Alabama. Alabama's a 2 seed. I've got them close to the Final Four. A lot of people are putting them in the Final Four. And it took a collapse in the second half for Tennessee to lose. Point being, that's a 5 seed. You look at their wins. You look at Oklahoma's wins you just went through. These teams can beat anyone, and that's why we love it.
Usually they say number one got a really easy path. I haven't heard a lot of conversation about that. I look at it. I'm no college basketball expert by any means. It's not my cup of tea. I've done a lot of reading and looking. I don't see that one of these brackets is particularly soft.
Yeah, it's tough to.
There's a lot of unknowns.
A lot of unknowns. Like you said, there are a lot of teams that have played a lot more games and a lot of teams that have played a lot fewer games. There's some teams that have gone 3 weeks without playing a game, all kinds of variables.
With that being said.
But nobody said, boy, the South is soft.
Specifically Gonzaga, right? That's the one that every
Right.
bracket show you watch. Yeah. Well, I'm going to go ahead and put Gonzaga in the Final Four. I think they're going to get there.
But you just listed the teams.
They're going to beat Norfolk State or Appalachian State. Then it's going to be Oklahoma or Missouri.
Tough.
You brought up Hutton. Then it's going to be Virginia. At that point, you would think in the second week, a fully healthy Virginia team that has been there and done that. By the way, they're the reigning national champion. Didn't have a tournament last year.
Or if there's an upset
they won
there.
in 2019.
Creighton had a good season in the Big East. UCSB is a very good team.
Creighton's not beating
if they
anyone.
were pulling. I don't think so either. I think they're dead now. But
Iowa would be the next matchup for Gonzaga.
Terrific team.
One of the best offenses in America.
What a great player.
Terrific.
It's just, it gets tough.
Coming up, we discuss who's not in this tournament. Duke and Kentucky. And the impact of that. Also,
why is Syracuse in?
NFL free agency is up and running. Players are about to agree to contracts that will be announced on Wednesday, but the negotiating period is wide open. We'll give you the latest headlines. And your reaction, Chad, at OutKick 360 is how our viewers and listeners can react to us in real time today.
We've had great reactions so far, including one viewer, who wants to send a big thank you on behalf of his wife to one member of our show.
We accept.
That will be the first tweet read when we come back.
OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. OutKick 360, and you can find us at OutKick.com, across the OutKick OTT network if you're watching live on YouTube through the OutKick channel, Facebook Live, Twitter, wherever you may be finding us. Glad you're with us for the debut show. We are live from Blackbird Studio in the Blackbird Academy, Studio G for the OutKick 360 studios, alongside Chad Withrow and Paul Koharski. I'm Jonathan Hutton. Great crew on hand as well, making the show happen for us. Paul, Chad, you mentioned the backdrop earlier. We want to give a shout out to, first I'll reference this, the Nick is Here sign. Our friends Craig Nance and Aaron Hill brought us this last week. And Nick Moses was a communications sergeant in the 5th Special Forces Group serving in Iraq and Afghanistan and was killed on this day in 2012. We honor Nick. Nick is with us here today. Shout out to Nick and his family, and thank you for your service.
Thanks. It's an honor that they wanted this on our set, or asked if we would be willing to have it, and of course we were.
NickMoses.org is the website. That's NIC for Nick, and we will display this as long as we possibly can on our set. Again, we happy to do that, and thanks to Craig and Aaron for letting us be a part of the remembrance of Nick Moses. Craig and Aaron, by the way, will be live with us this Friday. We're going to be watching the tournament.
Craig and Aaron, two of the best guys anyone will ever
Terrific
know also,
dudes.
and I know Nick was exactly the same way.
Yeah.
The way they talk about him. So I echo what you guys said. Big thanks for that service, and big thanks to Craig and Aaron, and big thanks to Craig and Aaron for being there on Friday. 6 in Peabody. Come hang out with us. NCAA Tournament watch party. We're going to be there all day and all night. We're going to be there 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. with a special show. We're going to have a lot of specials going on, food, drink specials. Come hang out with us. We're going to be there watching games, having fun. We're going to be there with FanDuel. We're going to be placing bets. It's going to be a great time, and really look forward to that. Also, we posted a link, if you follow us, at OutKick360 on Twitter. T-shirts are up. So if you like the logo, you want to get a T-shirt, you can go online, hit that link, buy. Also, if you're going to be there Friday, we're going to be on site with T-shirts. So you can show up, buy T-shirts there as well.
We love this logo, which you can see down here. A lot of time and effort went into it from our lot of behind-the-scenes people. Yeah, hand modeling
Our
here.
Vanna White
You can see a slight echo of where we've been, and certainly a big reference to who we are now and what we're going to be. But it looks great on this T-shirt, and you'll have a lot of great merchandise. And I'll tell you what, OutKick makes the softest T-shirts. Whoever their person is, whoever their company is, it's outrageously good. They are very comfortable.
This logo looks great. The studio looks great. We probably don't look great, but bear with us on that. Video's a new element to this show, right? This is our first time.
That's right, yeah.
Really doing a show, our show
You gotta get
on
used
video.
to it.
This is going to be our show. I think if you've listened to us before and you're listening to us now, then you're going to see that and hear that. If you're listening to us for the first time, hello, and hopefully you like it. But the video element is something new. So the first tweet we're going to read on OutKick 360
It's a big moment.
is dealing with the video element. This comes from
big
Patrick.
moment.
Here it is. And that
first
symbolizes
bell.
the big moment. One more time for everyone. Thank you.
This is what the bell sounds like.
Perfect. Patrick writes, great start, guys. And my wife appreciates the view of Hutton's legs and groin. How about that?
Did you I didn't notice that camera way down.
First tweet.
The secret low shot.
Yeah, it's very unfortunate. Very unfortunate. And
Keep that. You need a bigger iPad. You need
People are-
not the regular iPad, that giant iPad.
There's no proper way for a man to present his groin
Yeah.
on camera, right?
That's
This is
right.
a problem for all men that's on camera if you're sitting down.
For all mankind.
And seated. It's really not a good way to do it. So I think Hutton, Patrick's wife appreciates it. I think Hutton does as good a job as anyone of presenting the groin on camera, but it's really hard to get the right balance of how to do it.
You and I at least have angles going for us.
Yeah, I'm kind of turning
We got
this
some
way. And still I put my leg
geometry.
up.
here's really what is going to expose us, pardon the pun, is the fact
done.
that
Expose you.
I probably wear the 2 pairs of jeans for the entirety of my life.
I've been shopping.
You know what I mean?
When you get that right pair of pants, you can't go away from it. When it fits perfectly,
Yeah.
it's tough to go away from those.
Well, I'm back into this paradox of choice thing that I've talked about a bunch. I talked about it on the OutKick VIP thing I did on Sunday. There are so many jean brands now, it's ridiculous. In one store, I tried on at least 6 different brands, and I've mail ordered 2 other brands. And by the way, I mail ordered the wrong size. So as soon as they arrive, I will be shipping them out to get a different size.
Paul's going to show up.
There's too much choice.
When you
Show
say
wearing a
mail
pair of-
order, I think of 2 things: brides. And also, like, are you
Wrong size,
Are you
you
ordering
said.
stuff out of a JCPenney catalog?
No, I mean,
Mail order. I think of ordering online.
Well, and then you know what happens? As soon as I look at jeans
Sears and Roebuck?
online, every ad for everything I'm reading all this tournament stuff.
Yep.
What's every ad?
Jeans.
A different jean. I go, oh,
Jeankos.
this looks different than the other 16 jean
they have
ads
you
I've
now.
looked at.
That's how you know
Right,
they have you.
Right. So I'm going to have 5 different pair of jeans show up in the mail, try them all on, say, okay, I need a 33, not a 32, and then wait 6 weeks, and then you'll see those jeans next to Hutton's groin.
Paul's going to come back in wearing the cargo pants and the carpenter pants from back in
I'm
the
not
day.
doing throwbacks, no.
Paul's going to do some housework, and he's going to come over with the carpenter pants with the hammer in the.
Now see, Chad has forgotten me in 2 months. He thinks I'm going to do housework.
True.
That's the funniest thing we've said so far.
Hey, so the first time since 1976 that we have not seen Duke and Kentucky in the tournament.
I love it. I love it. I particularly love it for Kentucky because I hate Kentucky fans, and I'm sorry if
But-
that turns you off. Kentucky fans are the most miserable
Sorry, not
fans
sorry.
in the world.
There will be a part of me though that misses rooting against them as the tournament
Yeah, but
starts.
the problem with rooting against them in the tournament is that they might win.
And then you're miserable.
Yeah.
And you don't really know why you're miserable because you don't really care that
I just
much.
don't
but
want to
you
see
just don't
joy
wanna
from
see-
those
So
people.
how about
those people.
the controversy of Mitch Barnhart's the chairman of the committee
Right.
from Kentucky. Louisville's left out.
Yep. And Seth Davis on the selection show asked specifically about Louisville. Was his final question, and what do you say to Louisville? And
Sorry.
yeah,
Who's better?
sorry, not
Louisville-
sorry.
Louisville or Syracuse? You know way better than I.
I mean, look, when you're talking about these teams that are in the first 4 in, they're all very similar.
Negligible.
Right. I
difference.
mean, and their resumes are similar.
Yeah.
You could make an argument for either one. You could make an argument for Louisville over, let's go to different conferences, Michigan State or UCLA. I'd probably rather make the argument for Louisville over one of those teams than maybe even a Syracuse. But
by the way,
it is
love-
a funny coincidence that when Mitch Barnhart and his Kentucky Wildcats are out, when he's the chair,
take
Louisville also out. And that was really the one bit of controversy, right? There weren't a lot of other teams screaming about not being in the tournament. I'm sure they're mad, but I guess media wasn't screaming about them not making the tournament
I
outside of
love
Louisville.
a first 4 matchup, and we've moved a little bit more this direction where it's not all teams that you've hardly heard of in the first 4. And to have a Michigan State, UCLA, 2 storied teams playing in the first round, I mean, that's probably no accident either. You get a lot more eyeballs on a game like that than you get
On a Thursday.
Valdosta State
Yeah.
and Southeast Missouri or whoever.
I'll be playing
which-
all those games on one day, too.
Yes.
The way they're going to have it starting at 4 o'clock in
And
the
that's
afternoon
really,
on Thursday.
And Clay pointed this out when I was on with him. That's really the basis for the Friday to Monday weekend, because the first 4's on Thursday and they want it all bunched together, right? So you're starting the tournament on Thursday at the same site and everything. It's not a separate thing that's significantly earlier. So they play Thursday, Saturday, conceivably Monday, if they were to win.
So our friends at FanDuel giving you a chance to swing big and get your money back on a risk-free bet. If you don't win, $50 risk-free bet. Chad's telling you to take Winthrop as a part of your parlay this week. Sign up, FanDuel.com/OK360.
Take them on the money line. Take them on the money line. Go confident.
That'll get your odds up.
FanDuel.com/OK360. Hour 1 in the books
Fast.
for OutKick 360. Coming up, we have the Tennessee Power Hour. Stick with us on the OutKick OTT Network. OutKick 360 rolls on with the Tennessee Power Hour. Alongside Chad Withrow and Paul Kuharski, I'm Jonathan Hutton. Glad you're with us for the inaugural show. If you're watching on YouTube, Facebook Live, Twitter, if you're listening live in Knoxville, Fox Sports Knoxville, the first affiliate. You always remember your first.
Always
Thanks
remember
for
your
having
first.
us.
It is great to be on
God's
1340 WKGN and 105.7 in Knoxville as we kick off the Tennessee Power Hour. We're going to do this each day. Once we get things rolling, we will be a 4-hour show starting at noon Eastern, 11 Central, and we will go for 4 hours talking all things sports, local and regional. The SEC footprint is the ideal focus for us, but we want to also keep a very local focus with the show, and that is with the state of Tennessee. We're going to talk all things Vols, Titans, Preds, local sports across the great state of Tennessee, at least 1 hour per day.
Again, big shout out, I want to say also to Nate Hodges in Fox Sports Knoxville, great station in East Tennessee.
Thanks,
Excited
guys.
to have them on board, excited for them to be our first affiliate on what we hope is going to be a large radio network that spans multiple states, and we think that's going to be the case.
Call us if you want in. Call us.
Yes, absolutely. And we're excited to have them on board. Excited to do this because another question we got was, are you guys still going to talk Titans, Vols, Preds, Vandy, Memphis sports? And we said the answer, absolutely.
Yes,
we're going to do
yes,
that, and that's
yes,
what we're going to
yes,
be doing that
yes.
in this hour every single day.
Yeah, that's bread and butter.
There's a lot to get to with the Tennessee Titans over the last 2 months since we've last been on air. We're going to hit that and more coming up this hour. But let's start with the Tennessee Volunteers and the basketball program, which seems to be heating up at the right time. The question is it enough? We saw them kick into gear come tournament time and towards the end of the regular season. Fulkerson out. We don't know how long. We don't know the effect of that.
Vicious.
Yeah, vicious and malicious elbow. But as they enter the tournament against Oregon State, Chad, your thoughts initially on the matchup and the draw as a 5 seed. Did the 5 seed surprise you?
The 5 seed did not surprise me. I thought if they won against Alabama, they would be a 4, and I thought if they won the SEC title the next day, they'd be a 3. I thought they had a chance in those games to move up a line each time because it does look like they're the 19th overall seed. I think they were the top 5 seed or maybe the second 5 seed. So they're right there on that 4-5 line. Tennessee all year has been a team that they can look great and blow out Kansas, who's a 3 seed in the tournament. They beat Colorado earlier in the year also, who's maybe the best team in the Pac-12 throughout the year. And they can look terrible. I think you saw some of that in that one game against Alabama. Great for a half, and then the first 4 minutes of the second half, and then went just through a miserable stretch where they couldn't score.
I was sure they had
Alabama,
that game in hand. I left the house.
Yeah,
I was
Alabama
like, this is
comes
done.
back into it, and the way Alabama plays and how they shoot the 3 and can drive, that's going to happen. But I think you're right. I think 3 straight good games, right? They beat Florida by double digits at home. They beat Florida again, who's a 7 seed, in the SEC tournament. Play, I thought, pretty well against Alabama, took them to the wire. Not having Fulkerson hurt them in that game. I don't know that they win if he's there, but it certainly would help to have a post presence that they did not have in that game.
Well, and as his play picked up, the team's play picked up down the
It's
stretch.
funny because he was killing them for a while,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
He wanted them off the floor, and now they lose him, and you're like, oh, man, that's going to kill him.
Well, he
And
was
that's
great
how
against
volatile the season's been for a lot of people.
Yeah, he was great against Florida in the win in Knoxville. But, I mean, look, I see Tennessee as whatever happens in this tournament, you're going to be shaking your head. I think they could lose by 15 or 20 to Oregon State. I think they could go to the Elite 8. And I think either way, you're just going to be left shaking your head with this team because they've been so inconsistent. They're very talented. They've got 2 freshmen that are going to be first-round NBA draft picks that started to come on as the season went on. Springer's disappeared a little bit lately, has not played his best ball. Keon Johnson's been great, especially in the SEC tournament. He's turning it on. So I see the Vols. I like them against Oregon State. I think it's a good matchup for them. I don't think Oregon State, they went on a late run. They're hot.
They've won 6 of 7, and during that stretch, or at least the tournament stretch, they were shooting 44% from 3. That's their game.
And the only loss was the championship
Yeah,
game.
Right.
That's what worries you is that they're just a hot team. I think Tennessee's the better team. Oregon State is the hotter team right now. But overall, when I look at the matchup, I don't hate it. I think it would be a great game against Oklahoma State if we see that with Cade Cunningham, the best player in America. against Tennessee. So there's some good possibilities out there for Tennessee. I hear all this about Rick Barnes, though. One thing I want to talk about was, this is typical Rick Barnes basketball, and this is Rick Barnes in March and this and that. Rick Barnes is now in his 25th NCAA tournament. Tennessee as a basketball program has been to 23 NCAA tournaments in their history. So Rick Barnes, their current coach, has been to more tournaments than the University of Tennessee. I'm a Tennessee fan. I'm a Tennessee grad. I'm fine with Tennessee going to the NCAA tournament regularly. Let's not get too carried away. Do I want more out of this team? Absolutely. Do I think they should make the Sweet 16? Yes. To me, that would be success for this group, is to win 2 games in the tournament. But I'm also not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say, well, Tennessee's got to go in a different direction, because look at all those SEC teams that have no shot pretty early in the season of going to the NCAA tournament. I'll take the tournament. I'll take being a 5 seed in a bad year. This is a disappointing year for Tennessee, and they're a 5 seed. I'll take that as opposed to what they could be and what we've seen in the past.
What do you think of the 12s they could have drawn? You said Lenardi in our text chain had them facing Georgetown initially. I thought that was a bad matchup. I saw a lot of Georgetown this weekend. They obviously were hot, like Oregon State was hot, a little hotter because they finished the tournament. I thought that would have been a bad matchup. The other ones here, UCSB, right, and Winthrop, who you said earlier today you like, particularly against Villanova. Well, how'd they fare there?
The 12-5 almost feels like the old 7-10.
Yeah.
That's how close these games, the margin for error has become. Games. But I would rather, if you're Tennessee, I think UC Santa Barbara is a worse matchup. I think Georgetown is a worse matchup. And I'm looking for the other Winthrop. 12 seed. Winthrop. Yeah, I think Oregon State, even though they're the power conference team in this mix, may be the best matchup for Tennessee.
It's interesting. Yeah, the other thing, though, just real quick, is we talk about these teams being hot coming in. And I wish I had better point of reference from previous years. But I wonder how much being hot carries over when you're waiting until at least Thursday. You'd rather be hot than not coming in, obviously. Sure, yeah. But how much does it carry over? You're traditionally traveling somewhere, maybe not that far for a championship top seed. But now everybody's going to Indianapolis. How many teams carry it over, and how many teams cool off in those 4 days with the change of venue and COVID protocols now and everything?
It's a good question. I think it varies, Chad, because of the rhythm that teams can get in. I think it was extremely important for Tennessee to get into a rhythm and get hot, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Even in their loss to Alabama, that was a nice performance.
They needed to get right after that awful performance at Auburn.
Right.
With Auburn, without their best player, Sharif Cooper, and the way Auburn handled them in that game, they had 8 days after that game to get ready for Florida. They came out flat against Florida. They were good defensively. They came out flat, fell behind 14. But to beat Florida in that game, to beat Florida again, that's 2 more wins over an NCAA tournament team, which is nice. And then to have Alabama on the ropes, even though they lost, I'm with you, Hutton. They needed that. They needed some good performance. That was a team that could not afford to come to Nashville and lose by 15 in the first game. They needed to do something, and that's what they did. And the hope is now you have that carryover into the NCAA tournament.
But even that, I wouldn't classify them as hot based on the fall apart against Alabama, which was very disappointing.
Yeah. Oregon State's hot. I mean, Oregon State's playing above their playing weight.
Yeah. Fall apart against Alabama, but again, they did it without Fulkerson, who was the reason why they caught fire down the stretch, right? His play improved, and then he was knocked out, and so was Tennessee.
Yeah, and there's got to be some kind of real
let's talk about this. Let's talk about this elbow.
For doing that. I mean, 2 swipes, you get a little bit on the first one. The second one's a knockout punch. Outside of being ejected there, that guy has to suffer some serious consequences. We talk about this every time.
I know that he apologized.
He handled it well afterwards.
Fulkerson was very classy. Yeah, absolutely. And that's great. He called Fulkerson the next day. He issued the apology. Kid needs to be suspended. I mean, you can't go wrecking someone's face on purpose.
Violent act.
And then eliminating Fulkerson from the rest of the SEC tournament and maybe the rest of his career. I know he went to Knoxville to have a procedure done on the orbital bone of his eye, and now he's back with the team.
You hope he can play
and he's
with the
going
Shield.
to Indianapolis, and maybe he can play with the Shield. But even so, you can't have that. I joke, but I think it would be really funny and make for fun theatrics if you had a flagrant 3. If you upped it a level, if you could go to a monitor and show that there was intent to take someone out of a game, not just a flagrant foul, but an intent to injure someone permanently where they can't re-enter the game.
Yeah.
If that player has to check out permanently, you concuss someone, you break their orbital bone, like that game, the offended coach has 30 seconds to go to the scores table and announce who is eliminated for that team. That eliminates the possibility of paying a bench player coming in and knocking Tennessee's starting player out of the game. And how much fun would it be if Rick Barnes could go to or anybody could go to the scores table and say, you know what, Trey Mann's got to go. Get him out of here. When he's got 28 points in the game at that point, and then he has to get up off the bench and walk to the locker room because his teammate did something like that.
Also, I don't know the intricacies of this.
It'll never happen, but it's fun to think about.
You're going to the monitor to finalize that whole thing. But the official under the basket clearly saw what happened and immediately blew the whistle. Can he not just eject the guy straight away, then go to the monitor to assess everything and everything? But he's watching what unfolds. I want him to immediately point at Payne and say, get GTFO.
Yeah, GTFO, you're out. I mean, yes, but that is one that I'm okay with them if it's the question of an ejection, of immediately going to the monitor. That ref probably knows at that point. You know, when Fulkerson's lying on the ground in pain and he's pretty sure he knows what he saw. But if the issue that you have there is a fight almost occurs, right? I think it was Eves Pons got in the guy's face, which I liked. Immediately I'm thinking, you got to go to bat for your teammate when you see that. So you're trying to make sure that is done first if you're the official, so there's no other fights, altercations happen. Once that happens, go to the monitor, look at it, make the right call, which they did in the game. The kid should have been ejected, and he was.
Coming up on the Tennessee Power Hour on OutKick 360, we will discuss the Vols' path across this bracket. Also, the Tennessee Titans. Free agency is about to begin. We'll give you a primer for that, what has happened salary cap-wise for this team, and how it's going to impact what they can do on the open market, and how the open market is already starting to shape itself with a few pass rushers that have agreed to contracts. That's all coming up on OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. OutKick 360 rolls on the OutKick OTT network. Glad you're with us for the inaugural show, and it is the Tennessee Power Hour that we continue with. We're going to get back to the Vols and the bracket in a moment, but let's transition, guys, to the Tennessee Titans. The offseason is here. Free agency is here. The big three free agents to follow: Corey Davis, Jayon Brown, and Jonnu Smith. And one of those has already agreed to terms that will be official on Wednesday.
Jonnu Smith gone. Adam Schefter reports his deal with the New England Patriots, 4 years, $50 million, includes $31.25 million fully guaranteed. That's directly from Drew Rosenhaus, one of the few agents who has the stones to put his name on stuff. Granted, it's stuff that's advantageous for him, but everybody else just tells ESPN to say sources. Drew Rosenhaus, to his credit, puts numbers on it. I thought Jonnu
tell us
Smith,
your real frustration with that, first and foremost, about agents doing that.
I just don't understand why you have to source information that is clearly coming from you and is beneficial. Like, is the team going to be pissed at you? They know it's you whether your name's on it or not. I don't understand why not. Jonnu Smith, to me, was the most important free agent. I think he's a huge identity guy for the Titans offense. I think too many people caught up in his receiving numbers and just completely discount. This is a fantasy football result. Completely dismissive of his role in the run game. First off, he had 8 touchdowns, seven of his 8 touchdowns, I think, by the time Taylor Lewan went down, and Jonnu Smith then had to shift into a role that was hugely consequential in Derrick Henry's 2,000-yard season. The guy could block, the guy could catch, he can run away from people. He's tough, he's physical, he's team first. He's all the things the Titans talk about wanting in players. And I don't think you can go find tight ends like him so easily in free agency or the draft. Corey Davis, I think, is going to be replaceable. Jayon Brown, you have David Long on the team who could play that role, maybe not as well, and I think you can draft guys like that. To me, Jonnu Smith is tough to replace. I don't know if they should have paid him this much money, but I think he leaves a big hole in the roster. Now, Michael Pruitt and Jeff Swaim are also going to be free agents. You want those guys back, but those two and Ferkser are not graduating into Jonnu Smith's role.
Well, so this is the dilemma that teams face whenever you choose to pay a running back. The deal that is reported is almost identical to the terms that Derrick Henry agreed to last offseason. 4 years, $50 million. When you pay a running back, you lose another player.
Yeah.
And
that's a good point.
You know, most teams don't pay their running backs. They draft their running backs and let them go to free agency. The difference with the Titans is they paid their guy, and Derrick Henry is producing and then some. And this is one of those cap casualties. And I say it because they didn't franchise tag Jonnu Smith, who I thought of the free agents fit within that category of potential tag.
Or transition.
Or a transition
was
tag.
$2 million, $2.5 million less.
But when you sign, and Paul, you can chime in on this too, when you sign the tag as a player, that money cannot be prorated. So it's counted against your cap immediately. The Titans don't have a ton of space. There's not, just looking at the free agent list of tight ends, there's not a glaring group out there that jumps out to me that says, oh, that's the guy that can come in and be Jonnu Smith. There are players available in the draft as well, but I agree with what you're saying about the well-rounded player, especially what he meant within this offense and what he did for Tannehill and the passing game early on right out of the gate. He was a big reason for their quick start in 2020.
It feels like if you're going just basic level, elementary win or loss for a team, this is a loss for the Titans. It's not now you've got money to go do this. No. Is there the opportunity cost of signing him with what you may have now? Does this lead to something else? Maybe. But I don't know how you look at this as anything other than an L for the Titans.
One guy I'd look at now, Gerald
Do you agree
Everett.
or disagree?
Oh, yeah. No, I think it's bad loss. Gerald Everett from the Rams. He only played 57% for the Rams, nothing higher than 40% in his first 3 seasons. He can get you some yards after the catch. He's going to break some tackles. He can play on the line or flex out. Not the blocker by any means.
Right.
But, I think Ferkser, people keep saying he's unrestricted. He's not. He's a restricted free agent. He's definitely going to be back.
Yeah, Ferkser and then
he can be your receiving tight end.
And they can bring back Swaim as well.
Swaim and or Michael Pruitt can be your blocking. But where's the guy who can do both? You're giving away what you're doing right now based on who's on the field when you have those guys back. So he's the
element of surprise is out the window because you've got two specialists.
It's a big loss. Or are they shifting now more towards three wide? Well, if they're shifting more towards three wide, they better damn hell get some wide receivers because Corey Davis is going to be the next guy out the door. Adam Humphries is already gone. They've got one wide receiver right now, A.J. Brown. And if you look at their depth wide receivers, they're nobody. Cam Batson is a little bit intriguing. After that, if you're counting on any of these guys to mature into a top 3 wide receiver, I think you're being very prayerful and hopeful. They got a lot of work to do. They've got $16 to $17 million. I wrote this morning a little bit about why maybe they're not restructuring Ryan Tannehill. Is it potentially a cash flow issue? They could get $20 million in cap room from restructuring him, but they've got to have that money one way or another by April 1st. So you have it now or you have it by April 1st.
For your top 51 players.
There's no new cash flow coming to the Titans between now and April 1st anyway. So they could have a cash flow difficulty because Amy Adams-Strunk and the other 3 who have 50% of the team just spent $515 million to buy out Susie Adams-Smith. So that's a huge expenditure. So what's the liquidity like in terms of having money to restructure people? Well, that money may already be funded. But then to pay big bonuses and to fund guarantees for guys coming in the fall, it could be a little bit of an issue. We don't know, but it could be an issue.
So Jonnu Smith to the Patriots. Diana Rossini reported earlier this morning that both Jonnu Smith and Corey Davis had been told that the Titans are not going to re-sign them. That makes sense now because if you're Jonnu Smith and Rosenhaus, you're getting in touch with the Titans about the offer that you're getting as free agency and the negotiating period opens. And when you learn that they're not going to match or bump up the offer, you're done. Or maybe they knew whenever they didn't franchise them.
I mean, once the Titans haven't talked to you a lot about a contract and the Patriots offer that, you're gone.
But we know Corey Davis is also in that boat. We expect him to get paid. Jayon Brown is likely leaving as well. That's the expectation.
More than Matt Milano got, and he got $12 million a year. I think.
And one of the more consistent players of their free agency group right now is Daquan Jones. He was very consistent on the defensive line. I expect the Atlanta Falcons to be heavy on him with the Arthur Smith and Dean Pease connection. That's a plug-and-play player that knows the Dean Pease defense. That can get paid, and I know both of them love the guy. I know the Titans love Daquan Jones as a captain. But those are 4 key pieces. We leave Daquan out of the mix, but the role he played next to Jeffrey Simmons, especially with the no pass rush, that will leave a gap in what they do up front.
Yeah, too. And I'll say this about Daquan Jones, who I've come to respect more and more, but I think that second starter on the defensive line next to Jeffrey Simmons needs to penetrate more. Adam Butler from the Patriots, who played at Vanderbilt, has 15 sacks in 4 years playing a position like that. I don't know that he'll cost more than Daquan Jones. And Daquan Jones is getting a little long in the tooth. He's very good at what he does, primarily a run stuffer. But are you looking for him to penetrate the pocket? Once in a while, he'll have a really good game where he does that. Game to game, he doesn't do that. I'd rather see Adam Butler as much as I like Daquan Jones. Somebody like Adam Butler or somebody like Danico Autry. Blake Bedingfield, our friend, the former scout, loves Danico Autry. What about Danico Autry next to Jeffrey Simmons on a defensive line for the Titans, a guy that regularly penetrates and pushes the pocket as a pass rusher? You know, if you could replace 1-for-1 there with Daquan Jones, that'd be a significant upgrade and help everybody on the front. They need more push from everywhere. And that Daquan Jones spot is a spot you can get more push that would be helpful while you address the edge, which we all know is the absolute number one thing where they need multiple people.
Well, and if the Titans keep losing these players in free agency, then the question becomes, what is that 1-for-1? You mentioned Autry for Jones. Corey Davis walks out the door. What are they doing at receiver?
I'd take
whether it be free agency or in the draft.
Both.
Jonnu Smith gone. Swaim and Ferkser, maybe they're not going to cut it There's 2 guys to play the one thing that Jonnu Smith could do, right? So then what happens there? That's
A lot of questions.
That's all the questions that are yet to be answered, right? Is that, okay, well, now what's next and what's the plan?
This is the biggest free agent departing class maybe in the history of this team if you add up the contributions and the money and all of that. And the Titans under John Robinson haven't lost free agent. Jack Conklin was the one big free agent loss. Name the second biggest. And we're not even talking about Jadeveon Clowney. I don't know if you guys are with me. I have zero interest in Jadeveon Clowney coming back. I don't think he'd come back early. He'll come back late. His health is an issue. His contribution was far less than expected, and you only got 8 games out of him. Let somebody else play that long-term game with him where he toys with you and doesn't want to sign till camp and everything. They need better than that, more reliable than that. And they need a guy who actually will get some sacks himself. I understand Jadeveon Clowney's game, but they need a game that includes actual pass rush from the player himself.
Well, there is some other news with the pass rush today. Paul, you were mentioning some players that have been mentioned as discussion pieces for the Titans off season, already agreeing to contracts across the league.
I haven't seen. Tell me.
Oh, well, let's see. I think was it Judon or someone else that you mentioned earlier today?
I haven't seen the Judon thing. I'm big into Hassan Reddick is my number one.
Yes.
I like because when he moved to a new spot, they miscast him as an inside guy. As soon as they moved him outside, he exploded. So I think he's undervalued because people think he wasn't that good of a player. But as soon as he got outside, he was a very good player. His own team's not going to re-sign him because they signed J.J. Watt, and he'll be cheaper, I think, than Judon, Dupree, and those guys.
You just love him because he went to Temple. You're a big Temple guy, too.
Well, my wife.
That's why you love him.
My wife went to Temple, but she's hardly a devotee.
Right.
The player that I was watching once
like
free
Justin
agency
Houston
started
also.
was Romeo Okwara from Detroit. He's re-signed there.
We don't want these guys falling off the map if you're wanting Titans to get pass rushers.
But I don't know if the Titans can jump out and break the bank on one player.
Shaq Barrett.
Shaq Barrett's that's the one.
Sorry.
Thank you. Judon's been top of mind for me, but you can find flaws. I think it's funny that we can find flaws with everyone, but this Titans pass rush sucked. All of these players. All of these players
absolutely terrible.
Listen,
massively improved their defense.
I am raising my right hand. If they sign a big-time pass rusher, if the Tennessee Titans sign a big-time pass rusher and he comes in and gets 6 sacks but makes a significant impact in the pass rush, I will not be critical. I will not say, you paid this guy $15 a year and he's only got 6 sacks.
Unless it's Clowney.
I pledge right now. Well, Clowney was a different bird. But I pledge that Clowney wasn't getting pressure. I pledge I will not say, the influence.
No, it's not that. Oh, no, if you don't understand what Clowney does in a football game, then you don't know football. God brought in
not all about sacks, Paul.
to get the occasional pressure or sack. Oh, if you don't see all the things, the way he impacts the game, then you don't know the sport.
I hereby pledge I will not be critical of a guy who comes in at $14, $15 million a year this year and doesn't have 10 sacks. If he has 6 sacks and hits the quarterback and does stuff like that on a regular basis, because of what Hutton's saying, how desperate they are and how bad they've been, I will heap praise on that guy. Amen.
I just get a kick out of the defensive Clowney a year ago, and the you don't know the sport if you don't see the way he go get the damn quarterback. Yeah. That's what you're paid to do. I don't want to hear it anymore about.
I hated Clowney.
I mean, give me a break.
They should have signed him. It was the right move to sign him. I think we agree on that.
Yes.
The one thing he did, he made Jeffrey Simmons. Jeffrey Simmons was better when Clowney was on the field than he was when Clowney was off the field.
The verbal acrobatics and nonsense that some of these coaches tell media members on that team is ridiculous. Go do something.
I don't even think that
defense was awful, and the fact that they promoted the guy that was behind the defense a year ago is asinine. That's a horrible decision. Are we getting into that now, or are we going to save this?
No.
We got plenty of time.
We'll get into Bowen later this week.
Yeah, we've got a long list of things to circle back to. And Shane Bowen, Mike Vrabel's decision regarding Shane Bowen will be one of those things.
I mean, what an absolute middle finger to everyone from Mike Vrabel.
Not to Shane Bowen. To everyone except Shane Bowen.
I mean, but look, he can go out there and set the world on fire this year, and I would think that's going to have to be because they're going to make the proper free agent signings. to change the
Well,
defense
personnel
for
is
that
number
to
one.
happen.
Personnel, absolutely.
Personnel is going to be a big part of it, but we'll save it for later. We don't want to get too angry here in the first show with different things.
The Titans now have.
Maybe we do.
The Titans now have an opening at corner as well. We expect Christian Fulton to play a much bigger role in their overall plan.
Dory Jackson. Got to
But
get his
Malcolm
head right.
Butler was one of the more consistent players, and one of the players that you felt like embodied the fabric of the team mantra.
Yes.
Right, and they have to release him. They're not paying him $14 million. We knew that he was going to be
All three
a player
guys we
that
knew.
was cut after the season. We were saying this last August, based on the way the contract rotated in for his year. That's the business part of it. But it's a big hole on the outside, and he played a big role while Adoree Jackson missed the majority of the season.
All three guys we knew would be gone are gone. Vaccaro has a replacement, at least, in Hooker, who was better
They're
than
fine at
Vaccaro
safety.
last year.
They're fine
Now,
at
Crooks,
safety.
I mean, depth-wise, it's an issue, but
Yeah.
you put that way down the line with the frontline needs that they have. But there's no replacement plan for Adam Humphries. Now, he missed a lot of games. All right, the investment didn't turn out. When he was playing and good, he was effective at what he did. But they need a slot guy. Cam Batson is an emergency replacement.
Not going
for
to be
that.
hard to replace Adam Humphries' production.
But
True.
they set out to get that slot guy because they had issues in the slot. They now again have issues in the slot, and there's no replacement for Corey Davis. This is why I don't think the roster is very well built in that when people are leaving, you don't have replacements. David Long might be able to replace Jan Brown, probably is going to replace Jan Brown, but it's a come down.
Well,
It's a come down.
You have those replacements in the draft, and they whiffed on an entire draft class. So that's part of the reason there are no replacements.
Well, hopefully Fulton's second
David
year-
Long is not a Jayon Brown replacement. He is much slower than Jayon Brown.
I agree.
He's not replacing Jayon Brown.
But it's conceivable, with all the need that they have, that on opening day next year,
They need to go
Jayon Brown is the starting inside linebacker opposite Rashaan Evans, who also is nowhere near as good as he needs to be and will be in his last year with the Titans because there's no way they exercise his fifth year option.
I'm not sure Jayon's back. I
think Jayon's probably gone.
Yeah, I'm saying
Long
they
could
need
be
to go
the starter.
address. Maybe Kyle Van Noy is that type of player to go address a behind the ball linebacker who can also play off the edge. We saw him do that in New England. He had signed a huge contract, 1-year contract in Miami. He's now a free agent.
I think he's got attitude issues. I don't know that he fits what they're looking for.
Oh, give me a break. They drafted Isaiah Wilson.
Yeah.
I mean, let's
Which
throw
means
that
they're
out the
going to
window.
reinvest. Which means they're going to reinvest, and they've got to find guys
They
who fit their
stuck
mold.
with
I don't
Vic
think
Beasley,
Van Noy fits
and they
their mold.
defended him
Right.
when he
And
wasn't
now
showing
those
up.
guys are gone. They've
Vic
got to get
Beasley-
back.
But I don't. But here's my point: they've said one thing and done another.
Well, they got to get back to doing what they
multiple
said.
times. Yes,
He
but
had such attitude issues that his former defensive coach signed him in Miami.
And cut him.
Well, it cut him after a massive contract that he signed after 1 year.
We can't
when they
bring him on.
discard. My point being is this: we can't discard someone being drafted or picked up in free agency because they don't fit what this team wants. Well, what do they want? Because the same team.
We know what they want. They failed last year. They failed in spades.
Then
to
why
get it.
defend
I
Beasley?
agree with you, Hut. That I'm not defending Beasley.
I'm saying why are they? Why is this big mystery about him not showing up and the defense of him when he's not there? I mean, it's
It
just
was ridiculous. I agree with you, Hut, that I don't like David Long as the replacement for Jayon Brown.
No.
I'm just saying the laundry list of things that they need, there's going to be a couple of those things they cannot get.
The one thing
Right.
they have to have is someone that disrupts the quarterback.
Yep.
Not someone, couple people.
Multiple. Coming up, let's get back into the path for the Tennessee Volunteers in the bracket, just how it shapes up. We'll take a look at that, and we'll wrap up show number 1.
I feel like I also should say something about Tennessee football because we have someone on YouTube offering to pay me money to talk about Tennessee football.
And now we'll
How
do.
much? Can we get that price up?
I'm trying to get the bidding going, but
Yeah,
I haven't
let's
had the
get the
opportunity
bidding going,
yet. So
a
maybe
bidding
we just
war.
get the bidding going and then eventually talk
And
about
here's where we get into something you're not supposed to do on radio, but we're not on all about radio now, only partially about radio. So I'll do what we call a double tease.
it. It's the rare double tease.
We're going to talk a little bit about redemption.
Redemption's coming up, and you can redeem yourself if you have not tried out FanDuel yet. You can jump on the FanDuel Sportsbook app this week. The
redeem your bet.
$50 risk-free bet as the NCAA Tournament gets underway on Thursday. You have until Thursday evening to check out the $50 risk-free bet. And we say, go big with it. Set up a parlay where you can win big on the risk-free bet, because if you lose, you're getting your money back. That's the whole idea here. So if you win, cash in, have a windfall, and let that carry over for the entire tournament at FanDuel.com/OK360. It is OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. are live. OutKick 360, live from Blackbird Studio. Studio G in Nashville, Tennessee is where you can find us. TheBlackbirdAcademy.com is the website. If you're interested in audio engineering, studio production, you want to go to school for this, TheBlackbirdAcademy.com is where you can find more information on this world-class facility. 9 state-of-the-art studios. Over 14,000 square feet of rehearsal space is here as well, with John McBride, Martina McBride, and their fabulous crew here, giving us the space for the OutKick 360 studios and the OutKick OTT network.
This place is beautiful. Facility is beautiful. You never know who you're going to see here. Getting an education here, and the people you might meet or people you might work with being here in the music industry, it's pretty cool.
We've gotten an education.
It's been overwhelming being here and seeing what's going on here every day. A quick round of applause for Blackbird Studios also for hosting us.
Thank you, John.
And also to Neon Media for everything that's been done
to
set up here. Incredible.
These guys are aces.
Yes. Let us know what you think about the setup and show number 1. You can do that on Twitter at OutKick360.
One consistent theme that I've noticed is that our viewers are concerned with Hutton not having a table in front of him like Paul and I have.
There is one.
And saying that it's almost unfair to Hutton that he has to hold his materials in front of him.
We do have
Hutton, your thoughts?
We do have a table. I do think I'll need one eventually. I am trying out things as they go here with the show.
Ever evolving. Look, we are.
Tomorrow would be pants optional. I mean, who knows?
You may tune in tomorrow and it'll be like a Winnie the Pooh setup with no pants and a shirt. And the next day, it's pants, no shirt. Or maybe we just alternate. One of us, 2 of us wear a shirt, one of us doesn't. It tested well when we went no shirt. It really tested through the roof.
The lighting
when we did
is
that.
terrific. On my third nipple. Remember, we had a third nipple conversation relatively early in our radio career.
We did. You never know what you're going to get every single day. Just tune in and find out.
Yeah, hit us up, OutKick.com, and follow us on Twitter at OutKick360.
We're so happy you're with us.
Yeah, you can do that on Instagram as well. Jonnu Smith to the Patriots, the Titans news of the day thus far. The Tennessee Volunteers in the tournament, and they get Oregon State first, potentially Oklahoma State in the next round, and quite possibly the number 1 pick in the NBA draft is who they'll be facing in the second round if they advance.
I think quite probably the number 1 pick in the NBA draft. And if they get past Oklahoma State, it's Illinois after that. So probably lights out at that point. But Tennessee, you look at their draw, they should beat Oregon State. They're the better team. If they play well and win that one, I think it's going to be a classic. If you get that Oklahoma State-Tennessee matchup in the second round. Similar to Tennessee-Iowa a few years back, if you remember, that great second-round game that went back and forth that Tennessee eventually won. So I think the path is there for Tennessee to possibly get to the second weekend and make the Sweet 16, but it's going to be tough, starting with Oregon State.
We will give our thoughts on the matchup later this week during the OutKick and the Tennessee Power Hour, and expectations, how we would deem success for this Tennessee team, for Rick Barnes, and the expectations that he's built with this Tennessee basketball program. That's all coming up this week.
I mean, I think this team can do a lot in the next 2 weeks to overcome not living up to expectations on this season, because this team could have been a lot better than it was. And when this season started, I think we were expecting better than a 5 seed and one of the best teams in the country. We saw flashes of that, but there was not the consistency.
I think a great example, go back to 2018 Virginia, number 1 overall seed in the tournament. They lose to Maryland, Baltimore County. No one cares at all about Virginia's great regular season. All they remember is they lost as a 16 seed.
And then all they remember about the season that they won the title.
When you have a great regular season and you've exceeded expectations and not lived down to them, and you get to the tournament, you lose early when you're not supposed to, that's all fans remember. Tennessee has a chance. It's been a disappointing regular season. They were picked to win the SEC. They finished 4th. They got to the Final Four of the SEC tournament, but this is an opportunity now to erase that. If they go on a nice run here in the NCAA tournament, that's all people are going to remember is that, this was the team that got hot late. They're off to a good start the last 3 games, and then piece together a run in the tournament. So that's the opportunity in front of them.
Paul, some national news. You, of course, for those that don't know, Paul is a Pro Football Hall of Fame selector. one of the 48 on the selection committee each and every year. 5 years from now, you'll be putting Drew Brees into the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I will. He'll get 48 out of 48 votes. Guy is phenomenal. I think one of you retweeted, if not both, a video that came out. I don't even know what it's from. And
it looked like a sports science piece.
Yeah,
or
I think it
something.
was like pre-sports science
Yeah.
about his accuracy, and it was comparing him to archers from the same distance. I think 20 feet. He's throwing to a target. At Paul Kuharski NFL is my Twitter handle. I tweeted this out. They had archers shooting from 20 feet to the bullseye, and talked about the regularity with which they hit that. And then it had Drew Brees throwing 10 for 10.
A young Drew Brees.
To the
in this
very
video.
center of this bullseye. And then it was talking about the wobble on his ball and how you need like 3 wobbles per 9 revolutions for the football to be as accurate as it could be, and how he consistently throws with exactly that wobble, and his accuracy is unbelievable. I also think of him, he's not super short, but at 6 feet tall, he's not the prototypical quarterback. And I think Drew Brees opened doors for non-quintessential 6'3", 6'5" quarterbacks, where you started to look at those guys more. Teams started to look at those guys more invitingly. Okay, well, you may not see over the line the way that all of these traditional guys have, but if you could bring me any Drew Brees quality, I'm going to look at you in a new way, because look at what this guy's been able to do. He rewrote the history of the NFL in some ways with what he did for New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, where that team could have easily moved. Sean Payton maybe made his career, but he also made Sean Payton's career. I was talking with Clay on his show this morning. What is Sean Payton's footprint now? What's going to happen with Taysom Hill as the quarterback of that team? We saw what happened to Bill Belichick. You can't make the judgment immediately after Tom Brady leaves. They had a bunch of COVID opt-outs and all of that. But what is now Sean Payton without Drew Brees? And I'm not big on Taysom Hill. And they've got salary cap problems where they're not going to be the same team. But 3 years from now, what do we think of Sean Payton post Drew Brees? I think they're all kind of interesting things. What if he turned into the same player, passed his physical in Miami, played that way for Nick Saban? It rewrites a huge chapter.
I have no problem saying full faith in Sean Payton and what he's going to do, because we
fine.
saw what he did when Drew Brees was out over the last
they won
2
a lot of
years.
games.
He's
They
a
won
great,
a lot of games.
he's
But
a
it's
great
a
coach.
different thing. I agree. I tend to agree with you. But it's a different thing to have to redo the whole thing instead of paste something together for, the 8 games that he's missed over the last couple of years.
And has there been a bigger no-brainer to go immediately into broadcasting than Drew Brees? Announces this morning on Today's Show he's joining NBC, which was a poorly kept secret. Yeah. Everyone knew he
We
was
had the contract in
joining
place
NBC.
last year.
Yeah,
Everyone
they didn't
knew
even try
he
to
was
keep
going
it a secret.
straight there.
They
But
knew he was going.
He announced his retirement on Sunday night, and Monday morning he's on Today's Show saying he's going to join NBC. But that's a no-brainer. Drew Brees on television is an absolute
they're
no-brainer.
going to shove aside somebody also who's not good, which I like. I don't know who gets shoved aside, but we know it's somebody
Who's not
that's
good on
inferior.
NBC?
Broadcast teams. I don't know if he's doing games or if he's doing studio.
I think he's doing Sunday night, Football Night in America, but that's a pretty good.
Well, they just
it's
adding
Tony
somebody,
Dungy, Rodney Harrison, Chris
I like
Sims.
that show quite a bit, even though I don't like Rodney Harrison personally, as we know, because he doesn't like to have his.
Maybe he'll take Mike Florio's spot, and then everyone will be happy.
Yeah, well, he's not an information man, but I wouldn't mind a different information man either.
Yes, he's going to be a studio analyst for Football Night in America. I don't think they're kicking anyone out.
Just adding.
I mean, that's a terrific show. There's no complaints with that show.
He's also going to help with the Olympics. He's going to be a part of the Olympics.
That's
So
awesome.
that's always cool where you send a guy like that, and if he does his homework, and Drew Brees is the kind of guy that would do his homework. If he's talking luge and he invests himself completely in luge coverage, it'd be cool. A regular Joe goes and learns luge and does luge broadcast.
First show.
There'll be no luging on this show. That's the plan. No luging at all. Or
maybe
luging.
some skiing, but no luging for us when it comes to the slopes.
Big fan of alpine skiing.
Yeah, we've never tried the luge. A little dangerous for us. Guys, your thoughts on the first show?
I think it's been fun. First and foremost, thanks to everyone who helped make this possible. You know who you are. We appreciate all of you. To the production team here and the setup, it's been great. But just to be back together has been fun. Hearing the Will Hogue song "America" And a huge shout out to Will Hogue.
Hooked
Thank
us.
you,
Who's
Will.
granting us the rights to his song America. If you love the song, don't love it too much because you can't find it on iTunes or anywhere else. You can only find it right here on OutKick 360.
But go buy some other Will
But go
Hogue.
buy other Will Hogue songs. Hearing that song in the commercial that we shot at the Standard at Smith House
Get us
got
juiced.
me amped to be back together and do this show. And that's the way I felt hearing it again today. So it's great to be back with you guys.
Yep, and this is just the beginning. You know, where we started today is going to be an incredible journey. There is a big picture, big plan for OutKick, OutKick 360, and the OutKick OTT network.
This is just step one.
Step one
Step
is
one.
the live
Baby
stream
step.
online, and Fox Sports Knoxville props for being affiliate number one. We will build an affiliate list, a full radio network, as well as a live stream and much more over the coming weeks. This is going to be a blast. Thank you to all of our season ticket holders for being a part of show number one. And we say thank you to our OutKick VIPs as well, because we're about to go do a special VIP broadcast.
And there's people already asking, this show will not stay 2 hours forever.
No.
It's 2 hours right now in the beginning as we online stream and do all this.
Make sure everything
It's
works.
going to be available on podcasts, wherever you get your podcast also. But it's going to grow into more. Just like our radio network's going to grow, everything's going to grow. The show's going to grow in length. But Hutton mentioned it. It will continue for another hour for VIPs. Good reason for you to go. I'm looking here now. Good reason for you to go online, OutKick VIP. It's very affordable. Sign up right now. If you sign up right now, you could probably join us in the chat that's coming up in about 15 minutes, right?
Yeah, yep. In about 20 minutes from now, we'll be live.
Let's finish with a little story, shall we?
Well, let's do it.
The day
Story
that we
time with
signed-
Uncle Polly.
The day that we signed off of terrestrial radio was a big surprise to everybody except for us, because it had been coming for quite some time. Either that day or the next day, I got the mail. And in my mailbox was this bottle of Redemption bourbon. It had a sticky note on it, a yellow sticky note with the numbers of our former station on it, and a circle and a slash. Very crudely done. I don't know who gave me this bottle. Could have been my mailman, could have been my neighbor. But I thought it was great. And in last week or so, I said to these guys, let's make this bottle of Redemption part of the show. When we have a redeeming moment, we'll pull it down from the shelf, we'll pour ourselves a shot, and we'll sign off with some shots. And today certainly feels like a redeeming moment. Therefore, the first shot of Redemption, that one's a little thin. But we'll do what we can. And so, after the first episode of OutKick 360, to my two comrades, I say,
Polly,
cheers.
Chad, cheers. Join us tomorrow live at noon Eastern, 11 o'clock Central. We are back right here for OutKick 360 on the OutKick OTT network. Cheers.
Redemption.
Gentlemen, cheers.